Hey coaches, welcome back to another day of your New Coach University. So today we're going to talk all about objections. And this is actually going to be a pretty short video. It's a big topic, but there's not all that much that I need to say to you about it besides this. Okay, when you are a newer coach, you are going to struggle more with objections because it's the first time that you're getting them. You're just not used to it. And, I think about it like this. If I was going somewhere, I always use this, like if I was going to a church that I love, like I do, and someone said to me, like, hey, you should come check out my church. Like, it's absolutely amazing. Like, it's been changing my life like this, and my kids are blossoming like that, and they do this, that, and the other. And I had something that I was doing that, whether it was or wasn't working for me, it's just what we were doing. It was my norm. It's what I know. I would be like, oh, like, thanks so much for sharing. That's great. I'm glad you found something like that for you that you're happy with, like a thanks, but no thanks. Like, I'm doing what I'm doing, you do what you're doing kind of thing. And so I think that that's just human nature, is that when something's new, we don't understand it. Like, I think back to when I was a brand new coach, and my coach, I knew I needed something that I could do from home. But I think back and I think about, like, well, when she dropped that price tag of like $140, I was like, I don't have that money. And when she told me about this shake that I would get with it, I was like, I don't want a shake. I was just talking to you about workouts. Like, I'm just interested in what you were doing. Like, how did we get into all this? And she's probably trying to sell me something, and it's probably something I don't need. And I had all my own preconceived notions and thoughts about what this shake was, and all the shakes that are on the market, and how they're that bad for you usually, and how it's done to stuff that I don't need. Someone's trying to sell me. And I misunderstood what Beachbody was, and all these different things. And because of what I thought versus what the reality was, I told her no. And I thought about this for 4 months before I said yes. And why I want to mention that today is because, like I said in our follow-up video, mostly no one says yes day one and just jumps in and is like, here's my credit card, I want to do this. Because they don't know what they're getting themselves into. It's our job to explain that. And so what I feel like about when I get an objection is, okay, I did not explain the value of this well enough yet. So this person is not understanding why this would change their lives and be so good for them. Because I know that for everything this has done for me, $140 or $160 is nothing. Nothing. And most of you here, if not all of you, I hope all of you would say that you would spend that money again in a heartbeat because of what it brought to your life, from community to weight loss to confidence to feeling better in your own skin to friendships to money that you're making in this business to health, levels that have gone down of this, anxiety that's decreased, like depression that's decreased, all these different things. 140 is nothing, especially when you can use it to, especially when our bag of Shakeology is $130 by itself, and then you're getting like an entire year of workouts for like 10, 20, 30 bucks, whatever. So I think that it is important to realize that when each person that we talk to is a life coming in that has their own past, their own struggles and insecurities and issues that they've had with this. And so I think that first and foremost, the biggest thing that I can do is to talk to them, to ask them questions, to get to know them, and then to share a little bit about my story, but to really place value on this, which is why I use that process of asking people questions, a lot of questions about themselves. When I look over their answers, before I make any recommendations, I spend a while, sometimes 10 minutes of voice clips or a very long couple of paragraphs where I explain exactly why, based on what they told me, I think this would be so good for them. And if I get an objection, like let's say that they're like, that sounds great, but honestly, I just don't have the time for this in my life right now. There's two ways I can look at that. Like, if we're viewing this in a positive way, is okay, they aren't ready to make a change, which is entirely possible. Like, they're just too focused on their obstacles and their struggles and things like that to actually be there. Or I can say to them, okay, so I haven't explained yet that like these workouts that we have, there's ones that are 20, 22, 25 minutes a day. Like, most of us spend that amount of time scrolling social media. But an easy thing I got kind of pulled into as a new coach was saying like, oh, I would get frustrated. Like, oh, why isn't this person ready to make change? Why isn't this person why don't they get this, that they're just standing in their own way? And it's easy without personal development to fall into that. And it's also easy to forget that maybe we were there ourselves. And so to stay relatable, so I like to share my story of, hey, if they say to me, I don't have the money, I totally get it. I use the feel, felt, found method with all of my objections. I felt the exact same way. I thought it was too expensive. I thought it was that. But this is what I have found. So I meet them where they're at. I let them know that I can relate instead of being like, hey, I'm up here on this high horse and I'm doing this and I know the value of it and I'm awesome. Like, and you, like, you're way down here and like you are just in this place where you're not ready to make a change. And I try to relate, like, girl, I was a stay-at-home mom. My husband, we were broke, we were in debt. Like, I felt the same way. And I talked to them about why. And when it's in a financial objection, I very often end up sharing about coaching with them and how they can just invite a few friends to join them to get it paid for. If no matter what I do, they're not ready, I'm always quick to offer the free group, which is something that I run every month. But because I want to be able to help everybody. But I believe that this is where the coaching really comes in, is when you have a newer client who's like, they've got their objections. That's when I feel like I get to really show my true colors as a coach, that I really care about them enough to say, hey, like, I really want this for them because I know this is going to change their life in all the best of ways. I don't want them to walk away. I don't want them to just go join a gym where they're going to have no nutrition support, no accountability, no one that cares if they go or not, and they're going to be left on their own. Like, I want them to do this. So I am going to take that time to send a heartfelt message and to help them work through their objections. It's not my job to convince or force anybody, but I do feel like it's my job to really fully explain the value and to really give it my best to explain what this has done for me, why I think it would do so much for them, and leave that there. So, don't confuse an objection with rejection. This is not about you. This is about this person. And like I said, I usually look at it as I haven't explained the value well enough yet. Now, I will say that although I still do get objections, I still do not hear back from some people. There are some people that tell me they don't have the time or they don't have the money. It is so much less frequent now than when I was a new coach. So know that if you're hearing no a lot or a lot of objections, that's very normal. I was too. And I think there's many reasons for that. One of them is the fact that, sorry guys, my son woke up from a nap and he wants me, so I'm gonna wrap this up. But that, like, oftentimes we get caught up in thinking about how, like, we're almost expecting an objection, which we have to do a lot of personal development. But I know that I kind of was bracing for impact of a no, especially if it took them like a day or two to respond. I almost like anticipated that it was going to be nothing. I wasn't in a positive mind space like I needed to be, which is why personal development is so huge. Compound effect, slight edge, those are great ones to read as new coaches. But I had thought it was too expensive myself. And I often find that my coaches that are getting a lot of objections in the beginning, usually the biggest objection they're getting is the one that they had themselves, which is why it's so important to be sharing our stories on social media and to be talking about these things openly. So if you're getting an objection in one area a lot, craft up a post about where you were at and how, like, I remember when I felt like I had no money to spend on myself and my health and fitness. But you know what? I had been doing that for a long time, trying to do cheap things, free things, and never got any results. Or I was willing to go spend my money here, there, and and it was a mindset thing, or I wasn't prioritizing myself. There's so many different ways that we can make posts about that, right? As long as it's about us and it's authentic and it's heartfelt, it will help. And as you start to post more about that area you're getting objections, you'll see you get them less and less. But I think that it's just important to realize that there are also a lot of resources out there to help you with this. So go to your back office, go into the training tab, and look up Team Beachbody's How to Handle Objections folder. There's a video, I think there's a script, and it talks to you about how you can, if you're getting a financial objection, you should say this or do this. And it gives you a lot. So what I want you to do for your homework today is familiarize yourself with that helper. And I want you to comment below and tell me what objection you get the most or have been getting the most, or maybe it's the only one you've gotten so far. Share that below. Or if you haven't been talking to people yet, which I really hope that you have, because you just got to start and learn and do, and that's where your confidence is going to come from. Say maybe the one that you think you're going to get the most. And then I want you to draft up your own response using that helper from the back office about objections, of what you could say to talk someone through that objection and help them. And we'll all learn from each other and we'll help each other, and it'll be really good practice for you. So do that below when you watch this, and I will see you tomorrow.